welcome to Sarcastard Reviews. For more reviews, go to www.sarcastardreviews.com. Today we'll be talking about Collide, which was released on February 24th. It stars Nicholas Hoult, Felicity Jones, Anthony Hopkins, and Ben Kingsley. To start with, Hoult and Jones play Americans, even though they are both British, and they have to hide their British accents with American ones, which doesn't make a lot of sense in this movie because they easily could have rewrote it to have the main characters be British. The only point of them being Americans is a speech by Hopkins later on in the movie regarding their American prejudice. Hoult already, has lots of experience with doing an American accent. He's been in the X-Men movies. He's been in Mad Max. He was in Warm Bodies, so he has lots of experience, and you never really see it through. Felicity Jones doesn't, and you can tell she's British. You can see it coming through a few times. She's not in the movie that much, so it's not as apparent. And when I say that she's not in the movie that much, even though she does get second billing, she's really just in the beginning and the end. And if you think about Michelle Moynihan's character in Mission Impossible 3, it's a very similar way of doing things. It's she starts out as the love interest, and her and Nicholas Hoult have this relationship. They start it, they show, they kind of jump into different points throughout the relationship, them meeting, them moving in together, them being in love. And then it's discovered that she has kidney disease that she actually knew about but didn't tell him, and now they have to deal with her needing dialysis. But because they're in Germany and they're foreigners, they aren't covered for health insurance. And she does get a dialysis, but she actually needs a kidney transplant, which that part's not covered. So the only solution they could come up with is they need to go back to America, again, because they're Americans, which you can't really see the air quotes I'm doing right now when I say they're Americans, but you get the idea. They could have done it with Britain, but whatever. So, but the cost is around $250,000. Nicholas Hoult, when he first met Felicity Jones, he was dealing drugs for Ben Kingsley, and Ben Kingsley works for Anthony Hopkins. So Anthony Hopkins is the big bad of the movie. He's a very evil drug lord. He's very pretentious and stuck up, and he doesn't even like Ben Kingsley. There's a good point in the movie where Ben Kingsley wants promotion, essentially, and Anthony Hopkins shoots him down in probably the most cutting way you possibly could by not only saying no, but also being insulting to the guy. And he's correct, but he's also insulting. So, Ben Kingsley, early in the movie, he wants Nicholas Hoult to do more for him. But Felicity Jones doesn't want to date a guy who's a drug dealer. So he quits. And then you fast forward to all these issues with her health and needing a new kidney, and now Nicholas Hoult wants to go back to Ben Kingsley for a job. And for a big job, because he wants the big payday. He wants to pay for the new kidney. Ben Kingsley, because of Anthony Hopkins' attitude and reluctance to partner with him, wants to rob Anthony Hopkins. So that's basically the setup of the movie. From there on, you get the typical, the robbery goes bad, there's a big chase, there's multiple car chases, they're on the Autobahn, so they're fast car chases. There's plenty of shootouts, and it's all Nicholas Hoult running from Anthony Hopkins' drug dealer character and his soldiers, essentially. They're all nameless. They have very few lines. if any. Anthony Hopkins does have some good scenes where he's basically chewing scenery. He has some great monologues, one about torture, one about how much he hates Americans, and one about how much he hates Ben Kingsley himself. And they're really well done, and I think he was having a lot of fun with this role. And same with Ben Kingsley. Ben Kingsley's character is crazy. He's definitely unpredictable. He's weird. He seems like he can go off at pretty much any time, which does lead to a little bit of tension. And yeah, there's some good fight scenes with Nicholas Hoult. He's essentially playing a car thief, so it's not like he's going to pull out the martial arts and start fighting these guys. But he does get the best of them, even though these are mob soldiers, essentially. They work for the drug dealers. They were hired because they should know some skills. But here's this car thief who is essentially just a kid out of college who stole a few cars. And he is out fighting these guys and outlasting these guys. So there's definitely some unbelievability there. The car chases are good, especially when they get on the Autobahn. It's very fast. It's not cut to pieces so that you get these quick 10-second cuts. It's well choreographed. There's not a lot to the story. There's barely anything, really. It's something you've seen before plenty of times. It's just the guy's in love with a girl. He wants to do one last job. It goes wrong, and then he has to make good throughout the rest of the movie and basically outlast the bad guys. And that's what happens. And again, Felicity Jones, she's in the beginning. She gets sick. Nicholas Hoult goes out and does his thing, gets involved in the robbery, and then you don't see Felicity Jones again until really the end when they're facing the final act of the consequences for what happened. Overall, the acting is good. The four leads, like Felicity Jones is listed as a lead, but I would put Anthony Hopkins and Ben Kingsley above her as far as being the stars of the movie. And they do a good job. Anthony Hopkins is very intense, sinister. He's not like Hannibal Lecter sinister, but he is pretty good. Ben Kingsley is crazy, which is very funny, and also unpredictable, which leads to some tension. Nicholas Hoult is good. He's pretty much void of a lot of personality. That's one of the biggest issues with the role, is there is not much to it other than he loves Felicity Jones. That's really all there is to his character. So he seems to be having fun. There's lots of action and there's lots of fighting, but there's really not much to it. Felicity Jones is the same. She's the pretty girl that the lead is in love with, and there's not much more to her character than that. This really feels like a movie that could have gone straight to video or straight to Netflix, but maybe it was sitting on the shelves for a little while, and they released it now because Felicity Jones has some heat on her from Rogue One. And that's really all it seems like at this point. It's not something that's going to make a lot of money in theaters. It's not something that any of the actors are going to be too excited about doing. I can see, Anthony Hopkins and Ben Kingsley probably had so much fun in this movie because they didn't think too many people would actually see it. So I'm going to rate this a 6 out of 10. It's slightly above average because there is some good acting from Hopkins and Kingsley. Very fun to watch those guys have fun on the screen. And there are some good action scenes. There are some good driving scenes. They're not any special in any way, but they're also not bad. They're not cut to pieces. They're not terribly choreographed, if that's a word. and they're entertaining. So just slightly above average, 6 out of 10 for Collide. For this and other movie reviews, go to www.sarcastedreviews.com. Thank you.